Well, hello, everybody. My name is John Teply, and today I have the great pleasure to be interviewing Gavin Eveland. And he's an artist who, when you see his work, you don't confuse it with somebody else's work. It's a very unique vision. It's a world that accommodates flights of imagination with emotions, passions, dreams, and it all exists in a place that's a little dark, but also has a traditional beauty that's exploring sensuality, love, and even horror. How are you doing, Gavin?
Oh, well, I'm good to be here. It's
Excellent.
Great to be interviewed by such a man of conviction.
Oh,
Knows how to stick to his brass and his guns.
thank you.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the painting behind you and wondering what that is. Could we see that?
Which one?
There's one that's the lower one.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did this one
Ah,
at art school.
wow.
The assignment was junior year intermediate painting about making a painting.
So it often seems that your work is about struggle, where there's either people or animals, but there's seems to be some sort of conflict. Is that fair to say about your work?
Yes, I do use a lot of beasts and naked bodies, and I do need to rewrite my artist statement. But it's sort of, I don't know, a personal mythology. I mean, I'm a very personal kind of artist, but at the same time, I have to express myself all the same, and I do not want to over-explain my work.
Yeah, yeah.
But I can capture those raw emotions, which can be done.
So do you, when you're looking at a canvas and it's blank, and you're thinking about how you're going to populate it with color and brush strokes and things, what are some of your first thoughts?
Well, my first thoughts are a little overwhelming because I have this, intense imagination, and I have all of these ideas of what I would think make, brazen and powerful artwork. I have this complete arsenal, and the hardest part of making a painting for me is, pinpointing what that exact thing is going to be. And obviously you have to work with composition and fill it in, and once I see a canvas like this could go in this could go into it, and it always changes.
So can you talk about a moment where you had like this aha moment where you're like struggling with what the image is giving, and then you kind of found the exact thing, or do you find the exact thing? I mean, is it something that's elusive?
Well, I have particular images that I find, emotionally evocative. And of course, you can never just sit around and wait for inspiration. You have to pile it on. You have to accept the mistakes that come on. But yeah.
So Gavin, the audio, we're having a little bit of a problem with, maybe if you could get a little closer, if that'd be all right, and see if that helps. Okay. And we'll cut this part of the conversation out.
Okay.
So we were talking about like the moment where you kind of realize what it is that you're struggling for, going towards.
The Eureka moment, it's bound to happen. And you just have to keep pushing it till you find it. And I use a lot of drawing, starts from the old masters of life drawing. You just can't replace a real thing. And just, juxtapose different things to what I think would make a powerful image.
So you have this relationship with inspiration and perspiration, right? Where you're inspired, but also you recognize that that may not be enough, and you need to work very hard to realize the image. Is that kind of what I heard?
Yeah, a lot of times, not all the times. Sometimes it just falls in with synchronicity, and it kind of depends on the painting, I guess. But you just got to make it happen.
So do you have ways that you push it to make it happen?
I prioritize what I want to see in a painting and how that would work for the size or what I'm feeling at that time.
There's that smaller painting that's up towards your roof. Is that something that we could look at it, and maybe you could talk about the process? It's just above the big painting.
Oh yeah. So this is definitely more of a struggle painting, and I was definitely inspired by some of Italian Renaissance work, but I put my own twist to it.
Oh yeah.
And the process.
Sorry, Devin, but when you do get away from your microphone by just a few inches, it makes all the difference. Yeah, okay. It does. But it was really interesting looking at the painting.
Yeah, and there's this Italian, mostly Renaissance word called disegno, and it's basically, well, it's not basic, but it's drawing, but they had rigorous drawing applied to everything. Like, a sculpture or a painting wasn't really considered a piece of art unless, or a masterwork, unless there was rigorous drawing done before it. So it's, I guess, the energy that was put into it. And obviously I'm not an Italian Renaissance master, but I try to find the energy to put into my work.
So, so the Italian masters, they used drawing before working on the image. Is that one of the ways that you develop your energy is through drawing, and then creating paintings from that?
Yeah, I always draw first. And from different positions, and I think, yeah, I think the drawing is always important for my painting, for what I do.
You know, I've seen your sketchbook, and I have to say it's pretty extraordinary. I mean, you really go down interesting corridors of the brain, you know, looking at what you do. What's your process for transferring an 8.5 by 11 something to a large painting?
I might not transfer it exactly, and I might not use that one drawing as well. But I take the most important parts of it, and I draw it on the bigger painting, and it will never be exact. You always have to work with and love with the happy accidents and failures along the way.
Yes. Much of so in looking at your work, I mean, you bring in some different realities, but they seem kind of based in our world too. What do you use references for that? And if you do, if you could talk a little bit about your process of using references.
Yeah, like I said, I love life drawing from life, but references of different things, images I find. We live in a world of images, and you got to find that little a deer path of what you think just makes fascinating and good intricacy for artwork. And references, as I said, the old masters, and I obsess over, I don't know, the history of Grotesque or Grotesco, which is an Italian Renaissance word from basically a prerequisite for surrealism. When they were digging up Emperor Nero's old palace and finding all these like bizarre and surreal images, animal people, you know, plants and animals and all that. And it's just this weird path that leads to just endless creativity, and just finding more of it, and references, and just, I don't know, just searching for things that like trigger the sensations that your creativity goes towards.
Could you actually talk a little bit about Grotesque and what the your interest is, and as in art making?
Well, when I was going to art school, I used it kind of ignorantly, and a professor, you know, told me about, you know, how it was coined. It was coined in the 14th century by an anonymous painter about discovering, you know, ancient Roman, you know, artworks. and how they would have these completely, irrational, basically surreal images all over. And because Emperor Nero's palace was underground at that time, it was, a grotto. So, well, first it was just the feeling of going into a grotto, but then you saw all these, bizarre, creative, imagery and artwork that gave, artistic license to just, have a creative spirit and bring forth something other than just, religious or natural painting, and basically a creative license.
So the grotto around 14th century, the work that was done there kind of gave the at least certain artists that were aware of it kind of a release from the typical format of the time. Is that
Yeah.
Is that a rephrasing?
Yeah, that's a good one.
So in your work, you have, when you're working with the figure and when you're working with landscape, they're really quite different. They each have an intensity, and the design and brush mark and composition is in both of them are very important. But they're quite different though too. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. They interweave because, studio recluse, figurative painter, and well, through your projects, I got reintroduced to, open air landscape painting. And so I approached it as landscapes as a body. Still, my compositions are usually, asymmetrical, like mostly centered, but there's always something a little off balance, and definitely nature can contribute to that. And I approach the landscape as a body or a tableau of bodies. I'm certainly not the only painter that sees bodies in trees and rock formations or what have you. And so I use, the figure as a trajectory to get back into landscape painting. And maybe there are some ethereal spirits speaking to me through Mother Nature with bodies, and I use, pretty much the same process. I draw a lot, for the underpainting, and I usually use, like the old masters, 2 or 3 color underpaintings, and then just, build up from that. And yeah, somehow I feel it works. Like there is obviously a separation, but they do get interwoven.
Yeah, it seems like the like maybe a really strong connection is in the drawing, because actually I'm thinking about, I watched you do a painting of a tree, and where most of the other people in the group, by the end of the session, their trees were mostly done. You were still at the drawing phase, and the the shapes and the rhythms of the tree were very important, and you were working very hard to capture them in some way. Uh, could you comment on that?
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you used the word rhythm. I haven't really talked about my brush strokes. Maybe I did in detail, because I love detail. But sometimes rhythm drawings, I use a lot of detailed brushes, paint, and I just
Yeah, you do.
get into a certain rhythm. Sometimes it's almost like a trance. And yeah, that first painting I did for your projects, yeah, I was obsessed with trying to, capture, because that one tree spoke to me, for lack of better words, it struck, or what Francis Bacon would call the nervous system, like, it gave that sort of sensation, and I just stuck to that tree. I obsessed over it, and I just knew that the energy of it would bring about the painting that I thought would be worthwhile.
Yeah, your landscapes are extraordinary. I mean, it's even though looking at them, they're quite different than your figurative work. There's something about it. There's an intensity, that you bring to the work, and you would always recognize a Gavin Eveland landscape, just that. Well, it seems like you're searching for something. I guess that's what I would say when you're doing the drawings and the brush strokes. It seems like you're searching for something. Is that a fair statement? And if it is, could you maybe explain a little bit about what it is you're searching for?
Yeah, I can relate to that metaphor. Yeah, I don't think I've completely developed as an artist, and there is going to be a turning point. I think of my search, my rhythm, my trances are some kind of a cocoon that I'm building for myself to be reborn in.
Wow.
I know that sounds pretty strange.
Well,
but
no, not at all. I think it's amazing. What so that almost seems like a spirituality, but in your works, it seems to be more about sensuality. That uh, is there is there anything to my comment? Let's put it that way.
uh,
Are you?
well, they're not completely separate. I mean, there is sensuality and carnality, strongly stitched into or tattooed into the intangibles, I believe. So I don't have strict borders between the two.
Now, is there, so you use the metaphor of the cocoon, which is beautiful. is that a spiritual metaphor, or is that quite not right for this? You know,
It's hard to say. That is a little more personally than I intended to go, but I just had to let it out. But it's hard to say because it could be an ethereal spirit, talking to me. It could be, maybe it is a spiritual summoning that I am not necessarily directly recognizing, but it consumes my thoughts a little too much to be just purely metaphor.
that's really interesting.
But I can't really give you a straight answer quite
Well,
yet.
no, that's we go to your paintings for the straight answer. No, and you're just helping us have a point of departure, and and that's totally amazing. Talking about the 7th Generation project, could you talk about the your connection to the location that you did?
I'd love to. It was an amazing experience. Lincoln City. I went with my best friend at that time. She was working on a video project, and we'd walk around together, from where the ocean, connects to the river, and there was so much vibrant energy. I mean, you still needed your coat when it got dark, but there were families, beach goers, people just that like owed so much of their joy to this beautiful part of nature. Obviously, probably oblivious to it. And I set up on the beach. I have pictures of it if you want. And I forget how big are the panels?
2 feet by 4 feet.
Yeah, and I put it on an easel, and I was sketching it out. And there were lots groups of people, perhaps on their way to set up a camp, maybe build a bonfire later on, and there was this one group of curious teenagers, that didn't quite want to approach me yet, and so
Yeah,
they
yeah.
started filming me. So they asked her what's going on, and she tried to explain the 7th generation to the best of her knowledge. And occasionally there was one girl that approached me, which was pretty cool, but the rest were a little too shy to approach. And we stayed there even after the sun went down, and there were citrusy colors in the sky. You can see seagulls flying up above, and even after I put the painting away for a while, we still felt the energy. And I didn't just pick one spot immediately. I had to roam around, trying to feel what spoke to me, what gave me the most energy, and obviously how that could work into the composition.
Nice. Well, I think we're winding down here, Gavin. Is there anything that that we should talk about before we sign off? Did we miss anything?
Well, the answer is probably yes, but not anything that comes to mind.
Okay, very good. Well, it's been amazing talking to you. Your work is, anybody that sees your work, they recognize the artist, and they know it's yours because of all of these things we've been talking about that you put into the painting. You can see Gavin's work. We will be showing it in mid-July at the Lincoln City Cultural Center, and those people that are watching the video, if you could come out and check it out, that would be amazing. And so for now, it is goodbye until the next time we talk. And thank you again, Gavin, for the interview.
Absolutely.
Bye for now.
Bye.